Happy Sunday. Thanks for coming on by and watching today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, we have a great show on the docket as we take a look at the updated 76ers NBA draft targets going into the NBA draft, which is going to be on Wednesday and Thursday. It is the first time that the NBA is deciding to do a two-night draft with round one on Wednesday, round two on Thursday, and we're going to be live for every single pick both days right here on Philadelphia 76ers Now. Our coverage for round one begins an hour before the draft gets underway at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, turn on those notifications. Therefore, when we go live, you will be notified. Now let's take a look at the updated 76ers draft targets. A couple of different players here with scouting profiles that we'll comb through, and all of these players would add something different to Philadelphia. We start off with Jared McCain, the guard out of Duke. Some people hitting pause on Jared McCain because he paints his fingernails, but he's a pretty solid player. And for a smaller guard, solid size at 6'2", 203, can play on-ball, off-ball. Primarily, I think, would be a good backup point guard at the NBA level. According to reports and some pre-draft buzz, the Sixers have shown a lot of interest in McCain during the pre-draft process. Here's what Jeremy Woo of ESPN had to say. McCain appears to be firmly inside the top 20 at this point. There's interest in him from teams in the late lottery. And then the Heat, 76ers, and Lakers, all possibilities, creating what looks like a narrow range. If the 76ers keep this pick, which they may instead use as a trade chip, that type of skill set would make a lot of sense next to Tyrese Maxey. And that's what I was kind of alluding to here, where he could play on-ball, off-ball, and he is a great off-ball mover with a quick and repeatable jump shot. That's what could allow him to really thrive alongside Tyrese Maxey. And then when Maxey is on the bench, I think that Jared McCain would be able to run a little bit of point. Good strength and quickness combo that enables him to play physically on the defensive side. Kind of a tweener athletic profile for that guard spot. But I don't hate him being more than 200 pounds. Last year for Duke, 14 points per game, 5 rebounds, a little more than a steal per night. So he's a very instinctual defensive player, and then 46% from the field and 41.4% from three-point range. What do the Sixers need? The Sixers need some shot making, and McCain really fills that need, and that's what he'd be able to bring to Philadelphia. Coming in at number 2, we're going to go to the front court. Yves Missi, the center out of Baylor. This is an intriguing athlete with a lot of size, and as we know, Philadelphia has not been able to find a quality backup big behind Joel Embiid. Missi is 19 years old, so he's young. He's also from Cameroon. Joel Embiid from Cameroon. So the Cameroonian connection would be alive and well, and then you could just sign Pascal Siakam, and you'll have the Cameroonian trio, 6'10 and 3/4, 229 pounds. He did participate in a pre-draft workout with Philadelphia. And so you have the Sixers showing interest in McCain. You have them getting their eyes on Missi in the pre-draft process. Our scouting report from him. Very springy athlete, excels as a rim protector, doesn't really take many plays off. He's very active, has really good energy. He's a great roller, strong hands to handle passes in tight windows and throw down some lobs. Not confident in himself to take a jump shot, but hopefully he can add that element to his game. Here's what the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor had to say. With the strong frame, vertical pop, and long arms, he offers rim protection whether he's dropping in the pick and roll or sliding over as a help defender. He's also alert and quick, making him a threat to disrupt on the perimeter. He can rack up deflections and steals or switch screens to defend multiple positions. I will say that as a big, you got to be able to switch screens in today's NBA, because if you can't, teams will just torch you. Last year, 11 points per game, nearly 5.5 rebounds, a block and a half, 61% from the floor on nearly 23 minutes per night. So there's some development that would have to take place here, and there's some risk. Why? Because he's a boomer bust prospect. If he hits, he could be a really great backup center. If he doesn't, you wasted the 16th overall pick on a player that can't really help you. Let's take a look at the most subs picked up in the month of June. During yesterday's show, or earlier this week, I should say, we popped up this graphic, and we're a little bit lower on the totem pole here, but after a couple of big shows, we have climbed up, and we are in 4th place among all the NBA channels here at Chat Sports for the most subscribers picked up in the month of June. Let's continue to climb the leaderboard here. Let's get that dub and hit that sub button right now for year-round coverage of the Sixers. Tristan Da Silva is draft target number 3, and we've talked about him a couple of times here on the show. He's a classic 4/wing who is a really good shooter from deep. Actually, his hometown is Munich, Germany, 23 years old, so he's a little bit older, but I don't really care about that because if he hits for Philadelphia, you want him to be an impact player for the next 4 or 5 years, and he's still young at that point. Good size at 6'8" and a quarter, allowing him to get his shot off. He was hot from deep during the NCAA tournament. 217 pounds at 6'8". Sometimes he can get taken advantage of on the defensive side of the floor because of that lack of size. Jeremy Woo, once again, from ESPN. Da Silva was a surprising omission from the NBA's early green room list, but he may still earn an invitation with firm interest inside the top 20. He has interest as high as Memphis at number 9, but will likely fall into the next range, where an array of playoff caliber teams, including the Kings, Heat, Sixers, and Lakers, are all interested in his services. Anytime you can get a big who can shoot the rock, those players, you could take a risk on them in the first round. Da Silva is an all-around player that could contribute right from the jump. He's experienced. He's played a lot. He's older. I think his game translates. Playmaking hub at times for Colorado with his ability to space the floor. Does have that lack of explosiveness, which could limit his ceiling. But look at a player like Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum. I wouldn't say they're insanely springy by any means. Da Silva last year, 16 points per 5 rebounds, more than a steal, 49% from the field, and just under 40% with volume from long range. He's probably the most NBA-ready player of the group of prospects and draft targets that we're talking about on today's show. He can do a little bit of everything, but nothing really at a very, very special level. And then coming in at number 4 is a player who, per some, is climbing up some draft boards. Isaiah Collier, very confident player. He thinks that he could be the best player in this draft class. This is a guard out of USC who also has intriguing potential. He's under 20 years old, classified for the draft and declared for the draft after his freshman campaign, 6'2.5", 205 pounds, so he could pack a punch and is a thick guard. The Sixers brought him in for a workout, and he's just really an impressive playmaker who can alter games with his ability to put his fingerprints on the game. He's a ferocious driver who matches his physicality going to the rim with excellent finishing, has the chance to really create for others at the next level when he's surrounded by shooters, has an inconsistent jumper that hasn't been sorted out. So that's the development that would have to take place there. KOC, once again on Collier, good ball handler with a strong frame so he can play with finesse or play bully ball. He compounds his crafty handle with the slick playmaking style. Good defender who has active hands and can strip opponents, at least when he's committed mentally. So, you have McCain who can play on-ball, off-ball, more off-ball, and then Collier who more so plays on-ball. And as for those shooting struggles, 49% from the floor. You can build on that. 34% from 3, that's not great. I do think, too, his assist numbers can rise at the next level. A steal and a half per game, so I like the defensive instincts. He was once a top prospect in this draft. Super young, high upside, but fell for a reason. If you have concerns with the jump shot, that, of course, is an issue. So I bring on producer Chip here. 4 76ers draft targets. And Chip, as I said, all different types of players and prototypes here for Philadelphia.
Right. We got the more steady, NBA-ready, high floor, low ceiling type of player in Tristan Da Silva. You got, your guards, one in Isaiah Collier, who I would say is definitely lower floor, high ceiling, as well as Missi, low floor, but also a high ceiling. And then Jared McCain, I feel like, is sort of the best of both worlds in a way,
Yeah.
where he should be pretty good right away and be able to contribute, but he also does have the tools to become a very, very good starter in this league. Not going to ever be an all-star one day, I don't think. There's not too many players in this draft class, quite frankly, that have that high level of potential. But I love the range the Sixers are in here because there's going to be a lot of players that get pushed down the board that are going to be able to contribute right away as teams above them in the lottery are taking more chances, taking risks on more raw players that they hope to develop.
Yeah.
I think any 4 of these players would be a tremendous pick for the Sixers. If I was Philly and all 4 of these guys were on the board, I'd be deciding between Jared McCain and Da Silva with my first pick. I think it depends, what sort of their plan is in free agency. I know the draft obviously does come first. I think I'd probably go Da Silva first, only because I know he's going to be able to contribute right away, and he's going to be able to contribute in a multitude of areas.
Yeah.
And it's a skill set that's really going to be able to fit well next to Embiid and Maxey. Then I go Jared McCain, again, another player who you hope his shot can translate, because that's really what you're drafting for, is that three-point shot. So you're hoping that he can make that jump to the NBA, and it should, right? It should, and then defense should be able to come along. After that, I'd probably go Missi, just because you need somebody to compete with Paul Reed for that backup center spot. And although he's a little bit of a project, needs to learn the game a little bit more and be more comfortable out there on the court, definitely has the skills, though, to be a high-energy, high-effort backup center. And then, you know what? If you want to take a swing for Isaiah Collier, who had all these 4, I think could be the best if he reaches his top potential, you can go for it. For him, though, I think he's best suited going to a place like maybe the New Orleans Pelicans, a team that's in need of a lead ball handler where he can grow and develop and then take over that role. I don't think long-term he's going to ever take over that role from Tyrese Maxey, but keep an eye on these 4 again. Sixers have interest in all of them, brought in a couple of them for workouts, so any of these 4 I think could be the pick come draft night.
Yeah, I agree that McCain and Da Silva are probably the best fits. You have McCain, again, who could play on ball, off ball. He can score. You have trust in him. And then Da Silva can stretch and he can shoot. They're also both known commodities as far as what you could get from both of those players. And if the Sixers do hold on to 16, it signifies that they're going to make that selection. You can't really draft a player who's going to be a project, I don't think, because you need that player to be a part of your team to maybe contribute as a rookie, and McCain and Da Silva help do that. Second-round targets here, Dylan Jones, Weber State, Trenton Flowers out of the NBL down in Australia. G'day, mate. And then Tristan Newton is a player who the Sixers brought in for a workout as well out of UConn. Be sure to give us a follow at Chase_Senior from me on X, and then Chip at Jake Chipper. We want to hear from all of you. Chop it up, talk some hoops, so hit us up.